Here are 10 things that older Grand Theft Autos did better. The first one is weapons that are taken away from you at security. This was a nice little feature because it kind of portrayed that realism that you'd often expect with going through certain security restricted places, i.e. airports, golf courses, whatever it might have been that wouldn't require weaponry. It would be taken away from you. So this was a really nice feature that they had, and it kind of disappeared in the later versions. So yeah, that was a very interesting one, and I feel like that should probably come back. The next one was the ability to purchase businesses a lot easier and actually run them a lot easier and collect the cash a lot easier too. So I know that businesses made a comeback in Grand Theft Auto 5. The way that in which you run those businesses was a lot more in depth, which I suppose a lot of us liked because you could engage with that business a lot more. So that was a good aspect. However, sometimes less is more, and the simplicity of just walking up and collecting the cash sometimes was a lot more rewarding, especially if you wanted to get on with actually playing the game and not having to grind and, you know, doing 1,000,001 side missions for your business only to kind of make maybe 10 grand from it. Those are the kind of things that have to change. So yeah, I think the ability to kind of run a business in a more simple fashion and collect the money a little bit easier would be what players would appreciate. Let me know in the comments. So for number 3, we have finding outfits in specific locations. This was the greatest thing ever because you could roam around the map, find yourself a tool shop or police station or whatever the location might have been at the time for that specific game, and you could get the clothing for it. I'm not sure if that made a comeback in other Grand Thefts. I know it was present in Vice City. Let me know if there are any others that featured that specific mechanic. But just the simple ability to pick up a piece of clothing from that environment that you were in, whether it be a golf course or you were in the city outside, you know, a clothing shop, or you was in the mall, it was a really nice feature to just be able to collect that piece of clothing and keep it moving. I think in Grand Theft Auto 4 you got a t-shirt when you visited the Statue of Happiness. But yeah, it needs to make another appearance, I feel, and you should be able to just get different pieces of clothing depending on where you are, and you can only get them in that area. That would be a lot more interesting, I feel. At number 4, we have fighting techniques and working out. I think for a lot of players this was always the most enjoyable aspect of a Grand Theft Auto game, was the ability to control the way that you look, i.e. hitting the gym, eating more, all of that kind of good stuff that allowed you to actually carve out a physique or fighting ability for your character. That was literally one of the greatest things, I feel. So it would be nice to see that come back, to be able to, you know, work out or not work out, and the ability to learn different fighting styles or just take certain classes to kind of hone in on certain skills. I think what San Andreas did really well specifically was the fact that there was certain gyms in certain cities, so you could only learn, say, martial arts if you were in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was San Fierro. And then you had obviously the gym that was back in your home city, Los Santos, and a couple of others spread out around the map. So that was quite intriguing, that you could only take certain classes in certain regions, and that would kind of motivate you to want to progress through the game and also explore the map and visit new places that you weren't familiar with, so that you could bring back some new skills. So at number 5, we have the local 2-player mode. Come on, why was this removed, man? These are the things that were great when someone used to come round your house, you know, you were crashing for the evening, you could both pick up a controller and slug it out on Grand Theft Auto. Obviously the controls were probably a little bit clunky, and so was the interface, but it was still there nevertheless for you to mess about with friends or family. The fact that everything's just moving on to multiplayer online and there's no local ability anymore with split screen and stuff like that, I think that that's heading in the wrong direction, because sometimes you just want to play local 2-player mode. That is probably the reason why San Andreas is still one of people's all-time favourite GTA game is just because of the amount of stuff it had to do within the game. So next up at number 6, we have an all-time favourite of being able to decide what you wanted to eat. So I believe this first made its appearance in San Andreas, where there was a burger shop, a chicken shop, and also a pizza shop where you could actually decide what you wanted from the menu. And that little piece of immersion there was greatly missed, I feel, by players, because it just gave you the ability to not only just slow down a little bit and park up your car and go inside these establishments, but also regain health. If you were in the middle of a firefight, or you were running away from something, you could actually just stop at these places and regain some health. So I feel like it definitely helps to build lore as well within the game, and just being able to kind of scroll through those different meals kind of builds a image about the character. So yeah, definitely something that I feel needs to come back. So next up we have being able to get money in other ways. So not just grinding and doing all these grindy missions, but actually finding like an armoured truck or something like that you can follow and dismantle and get the cash out. I think that was part of what made GTA quite fun, was the unpredictability and the fact that you had to be quite creative in your methods of gaining some extra side income if you were struggling, and the fact that you had the ability to do so you weren't just forced into the generic modes of long missions in order to get money. So yeah, just another great way to build your income. If you were still walking around broke in the city, you had the ability to change that. Up at number 8, I think we've got everyone's favourite, the Vigilante and Taxi Missions. So with this, it didn't make a comeback in some of the later games, but I feel that Grand Theft Auto 4 specifically done this very, very well, because you could access the police computer, you could search people up, and then you could carry out little assignments to go and build your extra income. So just another great way on the side to not only pass the time, but really build into what Liberty City was about. And I know some of their previous games did this, like Vice City, San Andreas, and a couple of the others with the taxi missions. I think you had a pizza delivery one, the ambulance one, and there might have been a couple more. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure there are a couple more that I can't think of, but you get the idea. They were there and they were available and they were immersive. So up at number 9, we have immersive attention to detail. This again was something that I feel GTA 4 done extremely well, because you had things like car washes, and your car would actually accumulate dirt on its surface, and you'd drive around and you would actually visibly see the dirt on the windscreen and on other areas of the car. So when you took it through the car wash, you actually felt that you were giving it a nice soapy clean, and I think that was what added to that whole Nico Bellic / Roman taxi vibe, running this empire, keeping their vehicles clean. I don't know what it was, but there was just something about that felt very, very immersive to that game specifically. But for some reason, again, 4 done this just incredibly well with those little things, even like with the suspension going down on the car when it goes over a rock or a pothole or something like that, and other various things like picking up bricks and cigarettes off the floor, hanging on ledges, all of that type of stuff. That is the kind of detail that really keeps you hooked. So finishing up at number 10, we have the strangely satisfying kill feed from Grand Theft Auto 4 specifically. Now, none of the others done this because they weren't online prior to GTA 4, so that was kind of where it all started, I guess. But that was one of the, I think, funny things from Grand Theft Auto 4 that didn't make a comeback in GTA 5, sadly. So it kind of got dumbed down a little bit. So to see that come back perhaps in Grand Theft Auto 6 would be, I think, a great addition to that game's online element. Let me know what you think in the comments. And that is our list all wrapped up. So don't forget to hit a like, share the video, press the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.